Hi, everyone. I want to welcome you to our UC Berkeley virtual visit this afternoon. And I just want to take a moment to thank you for taking an hour of your afternoon to spend with us. We're really excited to share our home away from home UC Berkeley with you all today. And just a little bit about me. My name is Briana. I use the pronouns she, her, hers. I am from San Diego, California, and I am a graduating senior, just graduated yesterday, so officially an alumni of our university. And during my time at Berkeley, I studied economics. And just a few housekeeping items. Today, we'll be walking you through a 45-minute presentation. And you will notice that below the chat function is disabled. However, there is a Q&A function that you can utilize to send us any and all questions that you have throughout the presentation today. You'll also see a couple polls pop up throughout the presentation today. As we're sharing a little bit of ourselves with you all, we'd love to learn about you. So please answer those so we can help tailor the tour to you all today. Now, this virtual visit is recorded, and we have multiple other virtual visits available on our YouTube channel at Visit UC Berkeley, if you're interested in checking those out. Now, this presentation has a focus on the campus overview from the student perspective. So everyone that you'll hear from today are current students or recent alumni like myself. And we won't be covering admissions or financial aid information, but all of that information is available through those departments. And after that 45-minute presentation, we'll come back and end with 15 minutes of Q&A, where we'll pull some of your questions that you ask throughout and ask them live. Now, we do have campus ambassadors on the back end that are eager to answer your questions. So make sure you're asking those as they pop up for you throughout the presentation. And without further ado, I am so excited to introduce you to two phenomenal campus ambassadors that I think this is going to be their last tour. And you are very lucky to be able to be on this tour today. So without further ado, I'll give it over to Celine and Evelyn.
Thank you so much, Briana. And yes, thanks for acknowledging that it's our very last tour. So like Briana said, we're really excited that you all were able to join. My name is Evelyn. I use the pronouns she, her, and hers. I'm originally from a town called Belmont, California, which is about 45 minutes to an hour away from Berkeley in the Bay Area. I am a graduating senior / alumna, I guess. I also graduated this past weekend, and I double majored in psychology and legal studies. I was involved in a few things around campus. I was obviously a campus ambassador or tour guide and involved in our leadership team here. I really love to dance. So throughout my time, I was involved in the ballet company at Berkeley. I used to be an RA or resident assistant at International House, one of the campus housing options here. And this year I participated in a depositions course at Berkeley Law, our law school here at Cal. And I also participated in the legal studies honors program. And I'll pass it off to Celine now.
Thank you, Evelyn, and thank you, Briana. I actually saw both of them yesterday. We were just like walking around campus and we were saying our goodbyes. But I'm so happy to be here today. My name is Celine. I am also a graduating senior / alumna. I graduated this past weekend as well. I use the she, her, hers pronoun series, and I am coming to you from Fremont, California, which is my hometown. I studied sociology and cognitive science with a minor in data science, and I actually added on these different fields onto my studies during my time at Cal, so I'll touch a little bit upon that during the tour. Some other things that I was involved in, I was in the Cal Alumni Student Association, so we did a lot of events where we helped to connect current undergraduate students with alumni and kind of create workshops and events that way. I was also a undergraduate student instructor for a data science course here at Berkeley, an introductory data science course, and then I am also a cognitive science peer advisor, so I got to tell people why I love cognitive science so much, because it's such an interdisciplinary, versatile field to be studying. But with that, we can go ahead and get started with our tour.
Yes, so again, welcome to Berkeley, everyone. You should see a poll popping up on your screen, just asking who you are so we can get to know a little bit more about you, since you know a little bit about us now. So go ahead and fill that out and I'll start to introduce our campus to you. As you can see from this slide, there's so much going on around Berkeley all the time, from athletics to academics, research. We have lots of really beautiful spots on campus. Like one of these photos is of the Hearst Memorial Mining Building, which has some of the most beautiful architecture on campus. We also recently celebrated 150 years of women here at Berkeley, which is a huge point of pride for us. And as a woman myself, I'm very proud to be part of an institution that started admitting women so early in our history. And in the center, you'll see our Sturdy the Bear statue. And this is one of the 27 bear statues situated all throughout campus. And this is where we typically start our walking tours as well. So it's very appropriate that it starts our virtual tour as well.
Yeah, definitely. I remember going to Sturdy and starting our tours from there, and then it was kind of just downhill and showing people our campus. But just a quick overview of what we're going to be going over today. So we'll have some history of the university, some academics, we'll sprinkle in some housing and dining, health and safety, as well as resources and what it's like to be a student here. And we'll also touch a little upon remote learning and how we've transitioned during these virtual times. And these are also topics that we'll be covering in our presentation. But if you are curious about something or anything really, just feel free to pop your question in the Q&A below, and we have a wonderful team of campus ambassadors who are ready to answer your questions for you. So yeah.
Yes, thank you, Celine. And yes, definitely utilize that Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. So I'll go over some of our campus history now. We were founded a little over 150 years ago in 1868. So we've been around for quite a while, and we go by a number of names, including Berkeley, Cal, and the University of California. So a big theme in some of our campus symbols and nicknames is our pride for the state of California as one of the first universities founded here. So our mascot is the California Golden Bear, and we do have a mascot that comes to games and rallies and such, and you'll see him in this photo on your screen, and his name is Oski. I think Oski is the perfect mascot. He really encapsulates the Berkeley spirit. He's kind of quirky and fun, and I think that really encapsulates a lot of the student body. And whenever he arrives at an event, like everyone is just so excited to see him. So I think that also tells you a little bit about our sense of school pride and spirit. Another fun fact I like to share is that one of our campus colors is gold. And I think that is the perfect color to again capture that lovely spirit of California. We have a lot of golden symbols like the California Golden Poppy, the Golden Gate. So it's just another reason that we're very proud of our school, and we have a lot of spirit. We have about 31,000 undergraduate students here and about 11,000 graduate students. So we have people from all walks of life, all parts of the world. And we have a number of historical landmarks as well, with the Campanile, our large clock and bell tower in the center of campus, and Sather Gate, which kind of marks an entrance to campus, and you'll see it in the bottom right corner.
Yes, definitely. I think it was like, so we had an event called Cal Day in the past month, and I got to be in this rally with Oski over Zoom. And it was really interesting to try and communicate with him, like using hand motions only over Zoom too. And I was like, okay, you can like, start to be excited for the visitors and things like that. So even online, Oski has a really cool aura. But moving into our campus culture, so you can see all these different aspects here on the slide describing our campus population. And a changemaker attitude is definitely something that can be felt within our Cal Bears. We even have a class for this. I think it was called the Berkeley Changemaker course, and it was offered these past few summers. It was all about challenging the status quo and figuring out how you want to ignite change at Berkeley. And a lot of this mindset and attitude can be represented by a very pivotal movement here at Cal that happened in the 1960s, which was the free speech movement. And it was a time when students really fought for their voice and their political opinions to be heard on campus, and it actually sparked demonstrations throughout colleges nationwide. And I think that the free speech movement is definitely something that is a really important part of Berkeley's legacy and history, but there have actually been so many other valuable, influential movements as well. So the Third World Liberation Front that was formed in the late 1960s actually helped to establish the field of ethnic studies, as well as the Center for Race and Gender on campus. And in the 1970s, the disability rights movement was very active and very alive in Berkeley. And there was a lot of work being done to make sure that not only campus, but the entire world was aware of how to be universally accessible and accommodating. But yeah, moving on to the second section of the slide, I think one of the main things that I love about Berkeley is the people and the community. And it's one of the reasons why I love being a sociology major here, because I have this opportunity to study human connection and society in one of the most thought-provoking, stimulating environments in the world. And everyone here is very full of passion. And I think there are like two parts to this. So each student has their passion for something that they love themselves. So it's their own niche. It's what they care about, what they could talk for hours about. And it most likely has to do with what they're studying too. But then there's this other passion as a golden bear. So it has to do with representing Berkeley as a whole. It has to do with school spirit, or joining like a club or a group that is rallying behind a very specific cause. So there's that passion as well. And I think it's definitely been very eye-opening and mind-blowing for me to be able to be a part of this culture and this environment for the past 4 years.
Wonderful. Thank you, Celine. And thanks for kind of introducing our campus culture, which I think makes us really unique. I'll talk a little bit more about culture here. So from this slide, you can probably tell that, again, there's just so much happening around Berkeley, reflecting a really wide diversity of interests. We have this strong sense of school spirit that you can see from our UC Rally Committee pictured up here in the top right corner. And then we also have so much research and innovation going on all throughout campus. I think these two photos on the left really describe or just show like how you could be walking to class on one day and see a noon rally on the Sproul steps and see students just like getting ready for a game on the weekend, displaying their sense of school pride and spirit. And on another day, you could be walking to class and see a demonstration going on the Sproul steps and see students really advocating for the causes they believe in and discussing some of society's biggest issues right now. So it just shows how you're always surprised on campus and there's always so much going on. And I think that really encapsulates our culture.
Yeah, there's always something to do on campus, or always something new that we hear about, whether it has to do with like research or maybe like an event that's happening on campus. There's always so much to do. So before we get into academics, we just want to touch upon some things that are happening at Cal right now, as well as what we strive to continue to do. So I think first off, of course, COVID has been a very big mountain to climb over, but I think that in terms of resources, Berkeley has provided quite a lot of avenues for helping students adjust and increasing access to resources. So our Student Tech Equity program actually provides an application for students to get free or low-cost technology like software or Wi-Fi hotspots and things like that. And I know a few friends who have utilized this program, especially since we all transitioned into a virtual world really quickly. And a lot of our educational programs and classes became remote as well, whether it was youth programs during the summer or whether it was just regular classes during the semester. I think we'll touch a little bit upon remote learning later. As for research into COVID, the Innovative Genomics Institute, which is actually led by Nobel laureate Jennifer Doudna, we're so proud of her, has really focused on the pandemic and different testing and diagnostic techniques for the virus. And of course, a lot of work is being done on thinking about the broader impacts of COVID. If you actually go to Berkeley's public health website, it actually lists out all of these different initiatives that we're taking, ranging from modeling trends of COVID to societal impacts to basic needs of our students. And then lastly, another very, very essential part of Cal's culture and impact is our advocacy around social justice and anti-racism. We actually have these discussions that are held monthly. Evelyn and I have gotten to be a part of some of them. They did become virtual. They're called Campus Conversations, but they're open to the entire campus community to participate in. And some of them have been dedicated to topics around anti-racism, what we can do for marginalized communities on campus, and the university's Division of Equity and Inclusion also has this page that's dedicated to anti-racism resources. We also have the Othering and Belonging Institute, which is super cool. They foster research around so many different fields, including inclusion and equality. So again, I'm very proud and very grateful to have been immersed in a university that is making change, but they're also very willing to learn and to grow in a lot of different areas.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what Celine said. One of my professors this semester is a part of the Othering and Belonging Institute. He's teaching a class on stigma and prejudice right now, and I've just learned so much from him and from other actors throughout the Berkeley community. So thank you, Celine. And you all should be seeing a poll popping up, a second poll on your screen, asking what you're interested in. And you can actually select multiple options here. So if you're interested in multiple things, that's wonderful too. So definitely take some time to fill out that poll. I'll talk a little bit about some of our undergraduate colleges. So we do have 5 total undergraduate colleges that students are a part of, including the College of Letters and Science, the Rouser College of Natural Resources, the College of Environmental Design, the College of Chemistry, and the College of Engineering. And we'll break down each of these colleges a bit more, but each reflect a really wide range of interests. And we did want to emphasize that when you're admitted to Berkeley, you do have the ability to transfer between colleges, but it does take a bit of proactive planning and working with your major and college advisors to make that happen. It's also important to note that each college does have its own requirements. So transferring into certain colleges may be more difficult than transferring into others. Chemistry and engineering in particular are quite selective. So it's important to just keep that in mind as you're planning your academic journey here. But I'll pass it off to Celine to start breaking down our colleges.
Thanks, Evelyn. All right, so this is my favorite college. I might be a little bit biased because everything I study is in this college, but it's truly the most interdisciplinary college that we have. There's even a major that's called interdisciplinary studies, and it's where you can develop your own course of study, your own research, your own thesis, and a lot of my friends decided to pursue this route as well. So the College of Letters and Science holds about 75% of our undergraduate population. It has over 80 majors in it, and it spans 5 divisions. So you can see here we have arts and humanities, biological sciences, mathematical and physical sciences, social sciences, and undergraduate studies. So I actually started off as a sole sociology major, and then I researched and explored other majors that the college offered, and I decided to add cognitive science as my double major once I saw how interesting it was and how broad it was. And then I took an introductory data science course for my new Cog Sci major, and I decided I wanted to minor in it because I found it to be super interesting as well. So if you know exactly what you want to do in the College of Letters and Science, you know exactly what you want to study, that is awesome and that is great. But if you do not, that is also totally okay. Because as you can see, there's so much to explore. You will most likely find something unexpected that you truly love. And the college also has this requirement where you have to take 7 breadth classes, which most likely not all of them will have to do with your major, but it gives you a lot of exposure to a lot of different fields. And you get to work with peers from other majors too. And I know ambassadors who have taken classes. We always have maybe a question about people's favorite classes. And in Letters and Science, I think has the most diverse amount of classes. So I've known people who have taken classes about mushrooms and fungi, or even taken classes about other classes. So literally classes where you want to learn about what you can potentially study for those who might be unsure, who might be undeclared. And finally, on the slide, not to brag, but 17 of the 25 Nobel laureates at Berkeley come from the College of Letters and Science, which is mind-blowing that we even get to be on campus, on the same campus as a Nobel laureate, let alone the same classroom. So that's super cool too.
I agree. It's amazing, and it makes me really excited to be a student here and very sad to be leaving soon. But I'll talk a little bit about the Rouser College of Natural Resources now. So this college has a specific environmental focus, but it does still have many different majors where students are able to explore different disciplines within that focus. I've known students from this college who have had career aspirations to go into law or policy or into STEM as well, and science, technology, other subjects as well. So this college really can cater to a variety of interests, but it does have that common theme of an environmental focus. Some of the majors offered here are biological sciences, nutrition and toxicology, ecosystem management, interdisciplinary studies, social sciences, and economics and policy. And again, they have a focus on sustainability as well as social justice. And I think it's really cool that they're incorporating society's issues and how their work is going to impact the rest of the world into their curriculum as well. So their philosophy or their motto is to see the bigger picture, make a better world. And I think that's a wonderful motto to have. And I just wanted to point out one of these photos. You can see some students interacting with Strawberry Creek, which is the creek that runs all throughout our campus. And we do kind of call this creek our living laboratory because students are able to interact with the natural campus landscape in their projects and labs and things like that, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I think all throughout the colleges, you'll really be able to see how much we integrate like the humanities with STEM. It's kind of like this really cool mix. But that kind of ties into our next college. So our College of Environmental Design. This is our smallest college. It has about 650 students in it. And there are 4 majors in CED. There's architecture, landscape architecture, urban studies, and sustainable environmental design. So you can see their motto here is to craft ecologically sustainable and resilient, prosperous and fair, healthy and beautifully built environments, which is such a holistic and great representation of the College of Environmental Design. It's really not just about building things or building structures. It's about designing with this mindset that takes into account social, political, economic, cultural, all of these different contexts and ethics into it. And there was actually this one moment in my, I think it was my sophomore year, where I was looking into urban studies and potentially studying it because it had so much context that was revolving around like society, equitable environments, and human life, which I think is really cool. They really see design as inseparable from social aspects. And I actually knew an ambassador. I think Evelyn knew her as well. Her name was Sarah Day. She was super awesome. She was a part of this college, and she created a whole presentation on it with a bunch of really cool fun facts that we got to learn about at an ambassador meeting. The College of Environmental Design also has their own ambassador team, so you could go and find their contact information if you want to talk to a representative from there. So the building that you see in the bottom right-hand corner is Worcester Hall. It's where CED is located. And I believe about 7 floors here are dedicated to studio space. So it's where students get this really cool hands-on work with 3D printing, fabrication, and building, and blueprints, and all of these really cool stuff. And they have their own space to do that. And there are also these really cool murals and spaces created by students all throughout the building. And apparently, I think one of our ambassadors talked about this on a tour. The top floor, even though it might be restricted to College of Environmental Design students only, has a really great sunset view, and Berkeley, we know, has really great sunsets. So that's another cool plus to CED.
That is a great little pro tip there, Celine. I'm glad you shared that. There are so many spots on campus with gorgeous views as well. And thanks for breaking down the College of Environmental Design. So now I'll talk a little bit about the College of Chemistry, which I think is a very special college and one that we're very proud of. It's actually consistently ranked #1 globally. So it's a huge point of pride for us here at Berkeley. The College of Chemistry has about 1,000 students, and they have 3 majors: chemistry, chemical engineering, and chemical biology. The College of Chemistry has many opportunities for innovation and research, and there were actually 16 elements that are on the periodic table that were discovered here at Berkeley, which I think is an incredible fact. Some of these elements include berkelium or berkelium, californium, seaborgium, and lawrencium. And I don't know, that's just such a cool fact to like be a part of a school that has discovered all of these elements. The Lewis dot structure, which if you've taken a chemistry course at all, you may be familiar with. It's a kind of a diagram that visualizes the valence electrons. And it's just a really useful teaching tool for chemistry students that was developed here at Berkeley. And for me, I think that's just as cool of a fact as all these elements that were discovered here, because it shows that we didn't just make these huge strides in the field of chemistry, we also developed a way of learning chemistry that's so widely used. And I think that's really encouraging to hear as a student here.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool because it can also be seen in like when we go to classes and they're like, oh, you need a book, and you look at the textbook and you find out that the author is literally the professor that's teaching you. So it's so cool how you get to learn about the work right from the professor or the person who originated that research. But we're on to our last college here. This tour is going by so fast, which is so sad. But the College of Engineering has about 3,800 students. There are 11 majors here, which you can actually learn about in our separate engineering virtual visit that our ambassadors also host as well. You can go to visit.berkeley.edu to sign up for that. And as Evelyn mentioned before, we do highly recommend that you apply directly into this college because it is pretty difficult to transfer into. So if you know you have a passion for anything in the College of Engineering, please apply directly. What I also love about the College of Engineering, and to be honest, UC Berkeley in general, is that you get this really well-rounded, comprehensive education. So even in the College of Engineering, students do still have to take humanities and social science breadth classes, which exposes them to a really big wealth of information and can even inspire them to like add on a major or maybe a minor or something like that. And my best friend is actually an electrical engineering and computer science major, and she's also double majoring in statistics, but she's emphasizing in city and regional planning because she became really interested in the College of Environmental Design when she took a class there. And then one of my other friends is planning to declare in bioengineering, but also wants to minor in sociology. So you really get this really cool exposure to a lot of different fields. And it's cool to see people have this mixture of STEM and humanities, but also the fact that they discover these new passions during their college years really speaks a lot about how Berkeley opens your mind and exposes you to a lot of new things.
That is so true. I know my mind has been opened in my time here as well. So I'll talk a little bit about our graduate schools here as well. We do have 9 graduate schools reflecting a range of subjects. And the first is our Haas School of Business, which is another very renowned school here. And the Haas School of Business does offer some undergraduate programs, including a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, the Global Management Program, where students can study abroad and complete a business degree in conjunction. We have a Biology and Business program and the MET program, which stands for Management, Entrepreneurship and Technology, which is a bridge kind of dual degree program between business and an engineering discipline. We have a number of other graduate schools, including education, information, our law school, which is very exciting. As a pre-law student, it's great to have a law school here. The School of Social Welfare, Optometry, Journalism, Public Health, and Public Policy. So as I mentioned with the School of Business, there are several undergraduate departments that kind of work in conjunction with these graduate schools. So for example, we have like an education minor, a journalism minor. Students can take classes within these graduate schools, even if they are undergraduate students here. So yes.
Cool, awesome. Okay, so let's dive into structure and class sizes. And this is really sad to talk about because I just finished my last class assignment ever last week. But I know a lot of visitors have a lot of concerns about maybe how a huge university has really big class sizes and you're not able to develop this relationship with your professors or whoever is teaching you. But the way that our courses are structured actually still provides students with a really good environment where they can thrive academically. So you can really learn to discuss with your professor and your peers in this kind of structure. A majority, I think about 80% of our classes are fewer than 50 students, which is mostly classes that are specialized within a specific major. So you'll take them as upper division courses. And then for those intro classes that will most likely have a little bit more people, they are divided into lectures where you sit in a hall, listen to a professor for about an hour and a half, and then you'll have a smaller discussion after lecture that week, which is always about 30 students or so in a classroom with a graduate student instructor or a GSI. And these GSIs and your professor also hold office hours as well, which is time that they dedicate outside of the classroom to talk and to chat and to answer any questions, concerns that you have, and maybe solidify concepts. And also it's really cool to just walk into office hours and to just chat with the GSIs and the faculty themselves because they are fascinating people and they've done really amazing work. So you can also just choose to do that and you don't even have to ask them about academic things. Even if you're not taking a class with a professor or a GSI, you can still go and talk to them. As for different resources, we have the Student Learning Center, which has been my savior for many a class. I took this class called Math 1B, which is like this calculus class that I had to for cognitive science. And it had been about 2.5 years since my last math class. I took the diagnostic test at the beginning where they like assess your math level, and it was not a good result. But the SLC tutors and the math adjunct class that I took in the Student Learning Center actually helped me so much that once the class was over, I would like start doing calculus problems in my notebook, and then I'd help my other friends that were taking Math 1B because math became kind of fun. And lastly, we also have individual advising. So you actually have advisors based off of your college and your major. So it's really comforting for me to see in my Cal Central portal my letters and science advisor, my sociology advisor, my cognitive science advisor, and all of these people that are here to support me. So you definitely have that kind of academic support here at Berkeley as well.
That is so true. Thank you, Celine. And now I'll quickly talk a little bit about what we're doing at this point, how our academics are structured in a very unique time. So this academic year, we had a completely remote academic year. We had our fall and spring semesters entirely online, but we do have goals to return in person in the fall. As things are very quickly evolving, we are just really staying in accordance with public health guidelines, but things seem to be looking up, which is great news. The university has been really responsive to everything that has been going on. They've provided all students with Zoom Pro accounts so that we can really maximize our communication online. We've had a mix of synchronous and asynchronous learning. So learning that is happening live, where professors are lecturing live to us, versus pre-recorded lectures as well. And there's just a variety of ways that professors convey their material to their students, which allows us to be really flexible in the ways that we learn as well. There have been additional resources for academics, including virtual drop-in tutoring, encouragement for instructional resilience, and specialized courses that are specifically adapted for the online environment. So Berkeley has very quickly adapted to a very strange time, and we've continued to learn so much, especially in a unique year.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully everything does return to in person in the fall. But I do know that Berkeley has those kinds of resources and the structure to, if needed, return to virtual very quickly and smoothly. But moving away from academics, okay, so let's talk a little bit about housing and dining while at Cal. A poll should have popped up. So before we talk about where you could potentially be living in the future, let us know where you are living or where you're coming from now. We want to know where you all are from, so go ahead and fill out that poll. So for housing, we have different residential halls and suites that students can choose from, and freshmen do get priority when it comes to on-campus housing. Personally, I lived in one of the high-rise buildings called Unit 3, and I loved it. I had 2 roommates. I'm still close to them to this day, and I still had one of them as a housemate up until we went into shelter in place. One thing that you have to make sure of is how you fill out the housing application. So you get 5 choices for where you want to live and what style of room that you would like. But for that 5th choice, you should always put any room, any location to make sure that you're not restricting your housing options. And as for resources, there are residential assistants or RAs that you can go to if you have any questions or concerns. We also have housing theme programs for people who share the same identity, culture, or interests and want to house and live together. So for example, we have the African American theme program, we have the Woman in STEM theme program, and the Global Environment theme house. And so many more. And then of course, common areas are just places for people to study and to hang out. So as you can see, housing is really not just about having a place where you can live and sleep. It's about finding an environment where you feel comfortable housing and sharing your life with. I think about 92 to 96% of our freshman population do live in on-campus housing. And a really big thing that they find is this atmosphere where they can thrive both academically and socially. And next, a meal plan is also included where you live in the residence halls. So you get a set number of meal swipes per week for the dining hall. And then you also get these things called flex dollars to use in coffee shops or convenience stores. I loved the convenience store that was embedded into Unit 3. It was called Bear Market. And it was just because I could hop downstairs anytime I wanted and just go get some like mochi ice cream or something. So that was great. And lastly, we have transitioned our housing structure because of COVID as well. So basically students have single rooms now. They should wear face masks when traveling outside of their room. And there are also designated social pods that help keep students social distancing and interaction at a very safe minimum. And Evelyn can go ahead and talk about what housing might be like after first years.
Yes, thank you, Celine. I'll break down some of our transfer and continuing student housing options now. So transfers and continuing students do have the option to continue living on campus. Most of the people I know who applied for campus housing after their first year were able to get a spot. So it's definitely a viable option for students. There's also International House, which has a very special place in my heart as I lived there for 2 years, 1 year as a resident, another year as an RA or resident assistant. And it's a wonderful international community filled with both international students and students from the US. There's an incredible dining hall that I miss the food every day, and just lots of activities where students can get to know one another and participate in this really rich cultural exchange. We have a number of affiliated properties, but I think one of the most popular options is to live in an off-campus apartment in the Berkeley area. We do have co-op housing options where they're a bit more affordable than your typical housing option because students kind of collaborate in their ability to perform tasks around the house in collaboration. So it's a really cool thing that Berkeley is famous for, actually. And we do have Greek housing as well if students are involved in a sorority or fraternity. No matter where you live, you do have the option to continue to purchase a meal plan on campus. So if you want to supplement your cooking at home with a meal plan just for that added security, you are welcome to do that. And you can learn more about housing at our website at housing.berkeley.edu.
Awesome. Thank you, Evelyn. Okay, so something that is also very important to our university and in colleges worldwide is our students' health, whether it be physical or mental health. So we have lots of resources to support our students here. So our Tank Center is where our health services are located. They provide urgent and primary care as well as physical therapy. Students also need to have medical insurance. So that can either be waived or they can use SHIP, which is the student health insurance plan that the university provides. Also during these times, COVID testing and tracing is a very important part of our health services, and COVID vaccines, of course, as students are encouraged to get them. I think you can pre-schedule an appointment at Tang now. I personally am very grateful for Tang because there's this one time during a very big community service event, I got a little too excited. I was running around campus and I fell and I cut my hand on this pretty deeply on a tree stump. And my friends rushed me over to Tang. They were actually just closing, but the nurse came out. She sat down, took a look at my hand, let me know what I needed to do to clean and to, make sure that it was okay. So yeah, just a lesson to not carelessly run on campus, but also to trust in the Tank Center if anything happens to you. As I said, our mental health is also just as important. The Tank Center offers counseling and psychological services for students. And I know friends who have utilized this to help deal with both academic concerns, but also anything personally that might be happening in their lives. We also have the Path to Care Center, which uses prevention techniques, education, advocacy to make sure that the campus is free of sexual harassment, stalking, or intimate partner violence, which is super, super important. And they offer both confidential support services as well as urgent support. Like we mentioned before, the Optometry Eye Center is just a super cool place in general. It provides free eye exams for students and the public. Small anecdote, my optometrist at home, and a lot of my other friends' optometrists all came from Berkeley Optometry, which I think is just very mind-blowing, but it shows how great the field of Berkeley Optometry is and how big its community is in the world. And lastly, my personal favorite is how the university helps with stress relief. And of course, what better way to relieve stress than to pet some animals? So Pause for Mental Health is a group that would bring dogs onto the main campus plaza. And you can just hug a corgi before going to take a midterm. And then there is Llamapalooza, which is a fan favorite. It is when llamas would be brought into this huge grassy area in the center of campus, and you can pet them and take photos with them before you went to go take your finals. So these two programs and other stress relieving programs at Berkeley is definitely something that I'm going to miss, or I'll probably just sneak back onto campus so I could pet some dogs and llamas. But yeah.
Same here. I am always impressed by Berkeley's commitment to keep our students healthy. So thank you, Celine. I'll quickly break down our safety services now. So we do have our own UC Police Department on campus, and there are a number of blue light poles, which you can see in the bottom left corner here. These poles are very useful in case you're in any emergency situation on campus. You can quickly press a button on one of these poles, and a representative from UCPD will be at your location in, I think, a minute or less, something like that. So they're an extremely useful resource for students. I've never had to use it. I don't know anyone who has had to, but it's just very comforting to know that it's there. We also have a campus warning system called Warn Me, where if something's going on that students need to know about, we'll get a text message notification. And our residence halls do have a 3-point security system where students can feel secure in being able to return home without the worries of lack of security. We have a number of night services on campus, including a night safety shuttle that runs all throughout campus and in the surrounding areas. And I really utilized this, especially my freshman year, living in one of the residence halls that was a bit further away from campus. It was really useful to be able to take the shuttle at night. And we have a bear walk service, which basically a trained safety professional will walk you from wherever you are in the Berkeley area to wherever you need to be at night. And it's just a really nice resource to have if you would like a walking buddy later in the night.
Thanks, Evelyn. And just to let everyone know, we are running a little bit short on time. So apologies if we start speeding up a little bit. And I wish I could have more time to talk about this slide because it just really shows how students get resources on campus and how students feel very supported in their personal identities as well as academically. But this list of student resources is just 6 of them. There are so many more. You can go to Berkeley's Center for Support and Intervention. I believe that's csi.berkeley.edu if you want to see all the different resources that we have. But just to talk about a few of the points on here. So the Centers for Educational Justice and Community Engagement are offices that are really dedicated to creating conversation and opening up safe spaces for different communities on campus. So we have the Asian Pacific American Student Development Office, the Gender Equity Resource Center, and so many more. There's also the Bridges Multicultural Resource Center. It's not on here, but they have recruitment and retention centers for marginalized communities as well. We also have the ASUC, or the Associated Students of the University of California, which is basically like our campus's student government, and other programs and offices are dedicated to specific types of students, like the Transfer Student Center, the Undocumented Students Program, as well as the Disabled Students Program. And then we have the Basic Needs Center that makes sure that students have everything that they need to thrive as students, whether it be nutritious food, housing, transportation, financial care, all of those different types of services. And I actually had the pleasure of interacting with a lot of these groups when I helped to plan a really big open house event that we had last month called Cal Day. And it was really, really rewarding just to get to know these groups as well as the representatives that were part of them.
Wonderful. Thank you, Celine. I really love this slide as well, talking a little bit about student life. So there's so much to do. I feel like I've said that many times on this tour, but there are many things to do on campus. We have over 1,000 registered student organizations reflecting a huge variety of interests. I mean, I was able to find a community in ballet, which I think is a relatively niche interest, and there are so many others. There are unique volunteering opportunities. I know Celine was involved in an organization called the Berkeley Project, which helps Berkeley students kind of get involved in volunteering every year throughout the Berkeley area, and it's a wonderful program. There are campus employment opportunities, including the Career Center, I know I have found internships through the Career Center, and they do resume review, and they have advising services. So it's a great resource for students. There are lots of internship opportunities in San Francisco and in Silicon Valley, and even beyond too. I know students who have gone on to do internships like across, like on the East Coast, around the world. So there's a really strong sense of local professional development, but also Berkeley has a very global reach. So it's really up to you how you want to go professionally, but Berkeley will support you through it. There are many study abroad opportunities in, I believe, hundreds of countries, and there are opportunities to explore the Bay Area as well, which I think is a very diverse and interesting area to be in if you're from out of state. Maybe I'm biased because I grew up here, but I think it is a wonderful place to explore with lots of food, activities to do, and everything.
Yes, I'm biased too because I have also lived in the Bay my whole life, but so much to explore. Something else that we are extremely proud of outside of our academics is our athletics. So actually, it's really interesting to see how much academics and athletics and extracurriculars are tied together, because a lot of different people in different fields are still supported academically and with what they do outside of class. So different levels of competition. We have Division I athletes, students who are most likely recruited in high school and very focused on the sport as college students. And then we have club sports, which was also where you would need to try it on campus most likely. It's not Division I level, but students are still participating competitively. And then if you don't want to have a large time commitment, Calrec Sports also offers very flexible intramural sports where you can just create a team and play occasionally with your friends. And sports facilities are also dispersed all throughout campus. We have California Memorial Stadium, which is where all of our football games are. Definitely games that are filled with school spirit. Athletics isn't just about the sport itself. It's also very much tied into school pride and blue and gold spirit. I remember going to my first big game at the stadium, and it was a very, very touching experience. We also have Haas Pavilion, which is home to our Cal basketball, gymnastics, and volleyball teams. And finally, our beloved recreational sports facility, or our RSF. It's where students go to exercise. It has tons of equipment, and also where students can take fitness classes. Some you can actually take for credit. So my roommate took a Taekwondo class, and another friend of mine took a tennis class for 1 unit each, and they said that it was the best part of their academics that year. So that's also an option. And again, another amazing feat for Berkeley, but our school athletes have 207 Olympic medals attributed to them. It's also very mind-blowing that you can just be walking on campus and bumping into an Olympian. So that's really cool too.
Yes, definitely. And I'll break down some of our remote resources and how we have been adjusting to this really unique time once again here. Even despite being online for most of our activities, I think we've really continued to have a sense of community in our various networks around campus. So there's been a really strong revival of social media networks where students can stay connected. Pretty much all of our student clubs and organizations are continuing to meet in whatever way they can. I'm involved in a dance organization, and all throughout this year, we've had Zoom class every week. And I know for some people that might sound weird, but we literally open our screens and we take dance class together and are still able to dance with one another, even despite being far apart. So I think that shows how every student community has adapted in some way or another to this unique time. There have been a number of department webinars, opportunities for professional and personal development, and guest lecturers. I know in some ways moving online has made reaching out to these esteemed guests and other opportunities more accessible, because we're able to just click a button and be able to connect with so many different people. Our orientation efforts have continued to stay strong throughout this time. I know that GBO, as we call it, Golden Bear Orientation, has already been preparing for the fall. And I know that every incoming class of students is welcomed with lots of fun activities, opportunities to network with other students and explore campus and the Bay Area. So we've just, in everything we do, we make sure to make the most of it.
Yes, I remember my own Golden Bear orientation, and I'm sure that they have also transitioned it very smoothly into the virtual realm. But we have 24 official libraries on campus. So here we're just going to talk a little bit about libraries and research. It has about 13 plus million volumes throughout the entire system. And students can actually access a lot of resources online as well through library catalogs and databases. And I think a lot of ambassadors have a goal of visiting each and every library before they graduate. Sadly, that was also a goal of mine. I was not able to complete it, but I will definitely be going back to visit them all once they're open again. My current favorite is actually Morrison Library. Evelyn, I don't know if you have been inside Morrison, but it's like this traditional reading room. The chairs are so comfortable. I usually go there to read like non-academic books to take a break from my dense readings that I had to do for like my sociology class. I also think Bancroft Library is amazing. It holds collections of manuscripts and rare books. And my first semester here at Berkeley, I actually came here for my history of art class, and I got to touch parchment from the 1500s, and that was really cool. In terms of research, libraries play a very huge part in this. We have an ambassador named Christy who actually got to look at old diaries and notebook entries from female students at Berkeley back in the 1890s in Bancroft Library. And she got to do this as a kind of personal research project during her senior year for 150 Years of Woman, which we mentioned before. And Briana is also, our moderator, is also a huge part of it. We also just have different ways to apply for research at Cal. So there's the Undergraduate Student Apprenticeship Program, or URAP for short. You get to peruse through a list of potential research opportunities, apply for them, and then work with professors and faculty on very cool research projects. Students can also choose to just do applications and grants for other projects. I know people who, like I said, have gone into office hours, just talked to a professor or faculty that they were very interested in, and then they got opportunities that way too. So definitely lots of ways to get involved in research and your own passion projects here at Berkeley.
Great. And just to kind of round out our tour, we did want to share some famous alumni and professors. So we have multiple Nobel laureates here on this slide. Stephen Chu, who's the former US Secretary of Energy, is also a Nobel laureate. Professor Jennifer Doudna is one of our most recent Nobel laureates, and she's incredible. I love Beverly Cleary, one of our alumni. If you ever read the Ramona books growing up, she attended Berkeley. And I'm not anymore. I just finished a class with a former Secretary of Labor of the United States, Professor Robert Reich, and he taught an incredible class on wealth and poverty. So lots of amazing alumni from our amazing school.
Yes, Wealth and Poverty is such an amazing class. I actually chose to audit that class, so like not take it for credit, but just so I could go and watch the lectures and get access to them. But sadly, this is our last slide before our Q&A, just to round off our presentation. The city, the surroundings of Berkeley are absolutely breathtaking. My favorites are Berkeley sunsets, or when it's golden hour at Berkeley and basically everything is glowing. It's also a really great mix of urban and rural setting. We have fire trails that students love to hike on. We have this creek that runs throughout campus. We have the grove of eucalyptus trees. We have redwood trees also growing throughout campus. So, and also real quick, campus squirrels are like unofficial mascots at Berkeley. They are literally everywhere. But then you can just walk down like a side path from a forest at Berkeley, and then you can just reach the city or downtown Berkeley. And that's filled with restaurants, local businesses, coffee shops, and students that are walking back and forth. So you get a really nice balance at Cal. So you'll definitely find something that will fit your interests in the surroundings. And yeah, that is the end of our deck. I hope you all enjoyed that. We can go ahead and move into our Q&A real quick. Hi, Briana.
Hi, Celine. Hi, Evelyn. That was such an amazing tour. You both are so phenomenal. And thank you to all of our phenomenal attendees, too, for asking all of your great questions. And I just kind of want to dive into our first one. One of our attendees wants to know, what are you both doing after graduation? And how do you plan to stay connected to the UC Berkeley community?
I can go first. So after graduation, I'm actually going to be starting work in August. So I'll be in downtown San Jose at Adobe, and I'll be in their employee experience human resources team, basically. But I have basically like 3 months where I get to do nothing or kind of just chill after these 4 years of college, which I'm very grateful for, because I know that like this is kind of the last big break that I have before I start working. And sorry, what was the second part of the question? How do you plan to stay connected? Okay, yeah. So I think that definitely I'm gonna stay in the Bay, so I'll definitely be like driving over whenever I can and kind of visiting. I know that a lot of ambassadors who are graduating are also like want to give their last in-person tour sometimes, so maybe like going to campus and like doing a rogue tour. I might take up that offer if any ambassadors are going to do that. And then also like a lot of people that I know are also not graduating yet, so I'll probably come back and visit them. But I'll talk about this in my Berkeley story later. Even though I'm not going to be physically on campus or not taking classes and things like that, I feel like being a Golden Bear is always going to be part of my identity. So yeah, that's how I plan to stay connected.
Yes, as always, I couldn't agree more with my friend Celine. So after graduation, I will be taking a gap year before attending law school. So this summer, I will be interning at the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, so the EEOC, if you're familiar with the acronym, which is a government agency working to advance anti-discrimination in the employment law sector. So it will be very exciting. And then in October, I'm actually moving to France, Lyon specifically, with the teaching assistant program in France, which is a program sponsored by the French embassy. And basically I'll be able to be an English language assistant in a French school. So I'm very excited for that. And then hopefully I will be matriculating to law school, but we'll see. That's a year out. So yes, that's what I'm planning to do after graduation. And in terms of staying connected, I think part of it is just taking the Berkeley spirit with me wherever I go. I think Berkeley has taught me a lot, especially in its core values of diversity and excellence. And I think those are things that I really value in my own life. So I'm going to try to take that with me in everything I do. And like Celine said, my home is the Bay Area. Berkeley has taught me to really love my roots. So I know I'll be back a lot. And I'm not worried about staying connected at all.
I definitely agree. And that's amazing. I'm glad to hear we're all staying connected, and hopefully we'll be able to jump on a tour together at some point in the future. Jumping into our next question, Evelyn, one of our attendees wants to know, looking back on your last 4 years, what's been kind of the most life-changing experience for you?
This is such a hard question. I've had many life-changing experiences here. I think since this is like my last tour, I guess, I will say one of the most life-changing experiences for me has been being a campus ambassador, and getting to do this and give tours. It's a very unique and incredible position to have. I was a very shy child, and I used dance as a way to like come out of my shell. And I think coming to Berkeley at first, I was a bit shy as well. And I think I used this job as a way to come out of my shell. So it's really taught me so much about public speaking, communication, confidence. But it's also just been very rewarding in that I've been able to share Berkeley and everything it offers to other people, like at this point, maybe like thousands of people, which is incredible. And maybe had an impact on their lives as well because of the information that I've conveyed to them. So I think that's one of the most life-changing experiences I've had here.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I definitely, looking at you both, I can tell you have all touched so many lives during your 4 years as an ambassador, and your impact continues beyond that. And so I'm so grateful to be with you all on your last tour. And jumping in to another question, this is for you, Celine. One of our attendees wants to know, what are your passions? I know that's a big question, and they want to know how you fulfilled that at Berkeley, or what passions maybe you've discovered here at Berkeley.
Yeah, definitely. So I think what's really cool is like, I might not have known exactly what my passions were before coming to Berkeley. I was a little bit like unsure also of like, I knew I wanted to study sociology and that was really interesting to me, but I also was like, I might want to study something more or something that is a little bit broader. And there are a lot of things that I'm interested in. So at Berkeley, I was able to kind of center on my niche and what I was really interested in. So in terms of academic wise, I was really interested in like social psychology and people, like human beings and society. So that's why I chose sociology, and I got to study cognitive science, which is just this huge mixture of all of these different majors. So I felt like I was doing a lot of majors within one major. So I got to learn about linguistics, I got to learn about computer science, I got to learn about data science and social psychology, and everything mixed in one, which I think was like the perfect way for me to really fulfill everything I wanted to learn. In terms of like extracurriculars and things I did outside of classes, I really liked just interacting with people. So that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to become a campus ambassador. And kind of talk to people about Berkeley and maybe any concerns or stereotypes that they've heard about Berkeley, and to debunk those. That's also a reason why I joined the Cal Alumni Student Association, because I got to interact with prospective students that way and current undergraduate students, whether it be as well as alumni. So it was like a really cool mixture of being able to talk to a lot of different people. And then something else I was very interested in was community service. So as Evelyn said before, I got to be a part of the Berkeley Project, which is where I cut my hand actually. But aside from that, it was the best experience ever, because I got to organize this huge community service day where every single student, or not every single, but a lot of different students at Berkeley got to come together, go to different community service sites at Berkeley, and kind of do work for the community and the city of Berkeley as a whole, rather than just the campus. So those are ways that I've fulfilled my passions, I think. But again, I started to be introduced to these passions and introduced to my interests while at Berkeley, which I think really shows how much this university has like opened my mind and my interests in what I know I want to do in the future.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm so glad you had the experience you have, Celine, and you've touched so many different areas of campus. And jumping into our final question today, one of our attendees wants to know, how you chose Berkeley, and kind of like Celine alluded to earlier, what's your Berkeley story? Evelyn, do you want to start us off?
Sure. So thanks, Briana, for the question. It is an amazing, important question. As I said in the beginning of the tour, I grew up in the Bay Area, and I know many Berkeley students have, although there are many students from around the world as well. In high school, when I was applying to colleges, I was really trying to go have an adventure, and I was interested in leaving the Bay Area. So Berkeley was not one of my top choices, just because I really wanted to go far away from home. And I think a lot of high school students feel that way. But I did end up applying just because Berkeley has a very strong reputation in my community. And I was just encouraged by many people in my life to apply anyways. So I did, and when I had all of my options in front of me, I decided to really start to understand Berkeley in a way that I didn't know before. I think my ideas about Berkeley were based on a lot of stereotypes and other narratives that weren't my own. And I really wanted to decide for myself if Berkeley was a place that I could feel at home. So I came on a campus tour, kind of like the one that you all are attending now. And it really taught me that I need to not take for granted what I have right in front of me, which is this incredible school that's so well-rounded, basically strong in like every discipline it offers, strong in athletics, strong in performing arts, strong in community service and activism. And I felt like, wow, I haven't noticed that like an incredible school is right in front of my nose, and I couldn't pass that up. So I think especially Berkeley's commitment to diversity and excellence and the Berkeley spirit is what really enticed me. And now that I've gone here, I've obviously enjoyed it so much that I have to share that with other people. So it's been one of the, if not the best decision I've made in my life. And I'm very glad to have graduated from this school.
I'll give it over to Celine. Why did you choose Berkeley?
That was great, Evelyn. Thank you so much. wow, this is kind of emotional because it feels like I'm wrapping up my Berkeley story with this tour. But first off, I want to say that I did get waitlisted to Cal, and I participated in the fall program for freshmen. So for those of you who might be potentially in that situation in the future, I would highly recommend that you write the essay for the waitlist, because it's one of the only chances that you get to really speak to Berkeley specifically, why you want to go to Berkeley and what specific aspects of Cal will help you grow both academically and personally. And I also never thought that I would choose to go to Cal. From all the stereotypes I heard, I was exactly like Evelyn. I thought it would be too academically rigorous. I would not enjoy it. And then when I got off the waitlist, I still debated on going. And it was after this analysis of a huge pros and cons list, and after a lot of research of other schools I got accepted into, that I decided to go to Cal and the fall program for freshmen. And then like the past 4 amazing years happened, and it went by so fast. So like I got to be part of clubs and groups that I really enjoyed. I got to plan big events on campus. I got to meet people like Evelyn and Briana and all the ambassadors on this call right now, and maybe who are watching, who are each just very different and very vibrant, and are all going to do great things in the future. I got to figure out what I want to do and what I want to do in life and what I was truly interested in. And the stereotypes that I heard about Berkeley were definitely proved wrong. And then I wanted to, and I got to become a campus ambassador to debunk those same stereotypes for people who are coming into Berkeley. And then finally, yesterday, I got to graduate. I got to walk across the stage. I got to say goodbye to the campus. So, and as I said before, one thing that I really internalized is that even though I'm not taking classes at Berkeley anymore, I'm not going to be physically on campus, Cal is always going to be a very big part of my identity. And it'll be the first place that I think of when I describe who I am and who I've become. So yeah, I started off as a high school student who never thought that they would be going to Berkeley. And now I'm graduating from this university that has just taught me so much. And I can't speak for other colleges and universities, like I haven't gone there, but I can fully say that my Berkeley experience has been so fulfilling and so rewarding and enriching, even if a quarter of it was virtual. But yeah, thank you to Cal for all the moments and all the memories. But that's my story.
Oh my gosh, well, thank you to Celine and Evelyn for all your contributions to Cal. And I said it earlier, but all the different lives you've touched throughout your journey as ambassadors, helping students make their decisions, helping train ambassadors that then help other students. And your impact, I promise, will continue for years to come. And I am so grateful to be able to call you both great friends of mine. And I am so excited to see what you're all doing next. And we definitely will stay connected and come back and potentially give those in-person tours when we reopen. And now to all of our attendees, I just want to thank you again for spending an hour with us this afternoon and on this very, very special tour. I just want to share some additional resources with you all. And so we have a UVisit tour, which actually Evelyn helped create, that you can visit at uvisit.com/Berkeley. That'll kind of walk you through our virtual campus. You can follow us on Instagram at Visit UC Berkeley. I highly recommend it if you're interested in seeing some of our familiar faces or just hearing a little bit more about Berkeley from our campus ambassadors. If you have a question that you'd like to be answered, you can email us at tour@berkeley.edu and one of our ambassadors will get right back to you. You can also check out our Bear Talk blog, which also Evelyn helped run this last year at beartalk.berkeley.edu, or I'm sorry, last 2 years. You can also look at some of our recorded virtual visits on our YouTube channel at Visit UC Berkeley. If you're interested in our 150 years of Women at Berkeley celebration, check out 150w.berkeley.edu. And here are some additional links for our admissions office and our website, visit.berkeley.edu, where you can sign up for additional student panels and engineering visits. And lastly, again, just a huge thank you. Thank you to everyone on this call, to Celine, to Evelyn, all of our attendees. You're all phenomenal, and I really appreciated being on this hour with you all. And here at Berkeley, there is only one way we finish things. It is with a strong Go Bears. So I'll invite Evelyn and Celine to unmute, and we can give a strong Go Bears on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Go Bears!
Go Bears! Woo! Woo! Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.